were a race of beings living here on this planet at one time. The Starchild is an absolutely one-off shot. There's been nothing else like it, and the only thing really close to it is grays. Grays consistently are described as looking like the Starchild. In fact, when we first got it, we thought that's what it was, the skull of a gray.
Where did they go? They were here. They mixed with humans. They genetically altered them. Where'd they go? Why'd they disappear?
Well, there's nobody says that they have, George. There's nobody says that they've gone. Nobody says they've disappeared. I think they're being seen on a regular basis. I think the women who claim they're being abducted and made pregnant and their children are being taken from them, I think that's going on, and I think it's been an ongoing project for at least 900 years around the world, and probably for thousands of years prior to that. I don't know. It seems like maybe we're part of just a small part, but a part of a breeding population. I don't think that happens to a lot of women percentage-wise, but I think that it's been going on probably for thousands of years, and because in the records there are, as I understand it, there are mentions of things like that that go way back, way beyond 900 years. Now, I'm not a student of that game, but I've had people tell me that they know of evidence that it goes way back. I don't really know that that's a fact, but I suspect that if it's going on 900 years ago, I see no reason why it couldn't go on both back in time and forward in time.
What a remarkable time this must have been on the planet a long time ago, Lloyd. If you accept the theories of Zecharia Sitchin and the visitations several 100,000 years ago, and
right.
This planet appears to have been visited constantly, still is, and they're always genetically playing around with us.
Right. Well, I think this is a unique planet, George. If you look at the mechanics of the way solar systems form as we understand it, to have a planet covered in water the way this one is unique. I mean, to have one missing its skin, as you know, if you put any kind of a liquid in a vacuum and let it loose, what does it do? It pulls itself into the tightest ball that it can.
Mm-hmm.
So as any viscous substance, which is how planets are going to form, are starting out, they're going to pull into the tightest ball that they can. And if you look at every other planet in the solar system, that's what you get, except for the Earth. The Earth is unique. So there's a lot of stuff going on here because we're like an experimental ground or something.
Why are we unique? Why?
Well, I think because of the water. I think the fact that so much of the skin of the Earth is missing and was filled in by water.
The luck of the draw for us?
I think luck of the draw. I don't know. I don't think you could have manufactured a planet like this. Something on that scale.
You don't think by design?
I don't see how it could be. I don't know
well
how.
Thought out.
But the moon, you have those great arguments that the moon is a manufactured thing and it's put there.
John Lear believes it was towed into place.
Absolutely. And look, I've read those. Those are good arguments. Who built the moon? That's a very good book, and the guys that wrote it make some very good arguments for that. So if you could do the moon, well, maybe the Earth, but the Earth is an awful lot bigger and it's dense and thick. The moon is apparently hollow. So I don't know. The scale of it just boggles my mind. But what do I know? They're they could do anything. Who knows what they're capable of? But Earth is unique. I know that much. Earth is unique as we understand planet formation.
The project and the documentary. I'm looking forward to this because I would just love to see this entire episode laid out. Now, will you take it from what they think happened 900 years ago, what you think happened?
We're going to have our first face-to-face meeting with the producers in January. That's the schedule that we have right now, and I won't really know what their plans are for how that's going to happen until we sit down and hammer them out. They certainly want me to have a lot of input in that, and that's one of the things that I will recommend. If you read the book, the first opening scene is what the scenario that I envisioned based on what I was told about how the bones were found, but it is just a scenario. But something like that, a recreation of that, I think would be a good way to open it up. And then that's what they tell me. They want to sort of go through the history of it through the first half hour to 40 minutes or so. and the last part go through the testing and show how it's done, what went into it, follow the steps in the sequence, and then at the end have the result, whatever the result is.
And those results will spell out exactly what you think.
Exactly what we think. What we'll be able to do, George, is compare the Starchild's entire genome to a human genome, to a chimp genome, to a gorilla genome, and by that time, to the Neanderthal genome.
So what would they say? Again, DNA from a non-human, what would the results show, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's going to show a percentage away from human that is so marked.
And unknown, right?
Absolutely unknown. Just the same way the Neanderthal. Again, you just imagine if you would a line, and there's human, normal human. 3% away from that is a chimp. 5% away from that is a gorilla. Somewhere in there is going to fall the Neanderthal, and somewhere on that line is going to fall the Starchild. Now, the question is where? How far away from normal is it going to fall? Will it be 1%, 0.5%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%? Don't know. Don't know that with the Neanderthal either at this point, but we will know it by that time. So I think, based again on what I said earlier, that the skull itself is so different, and that the woman, when she saw the whole skeleton, she said it was all misshapen, equally misshapen. I think that all of its genes were telling it to grow different than a human being, and so I think it's going to be significantly away from the human norm to such a degree that nobody can argue that this isn't an alien being.
If we found Bigfoot and, did the same kind of genome testing.
Right. We will do that.
Would we be able to determine whether this creature was indigenous to planet Earth or not?
Exactly that. We will be able to lay its entire genome down against a chimp and against a gorilla, and we'll be able to say exactly where it fits on that, on that scheme of genetics.
And unknown means what?
Well, unknown just at this point means we don't have one to sample yet. But once you have a Bigfoot DNA and you're able to sequence it down to its full genome, we'll be able to compare it fully. And if you look at the physiology of the hominoids, Bigfoot and the others that are out there, and if you look at the physiology of the so-called pre-humans, and that includes the hobbits, you see that they are all the same. They are really all the same. The hominoids are the pre-humans. The Australopithecines, the early Australopithecines, Lucy, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, all of those are hominoids. Those are not human beings. They don't look human. Everything about them says primate.
Right.
Thick bones.
Slouchy a little bit.
Exactly. Well, the way their heads are built, the big brow ridges, the slanting foreheads, there's nothing like us until we appear. But if you look, this is one of the things that I hope we can talk about later. If you look at what I've been saying all along about this, since I started this 10 years ago, I've been saying that in the Miocene there had to be upright walking Miocene apes, and nobody was accepting that in mainstream science at that point. But now, just last year, it's come out that indeed there were upright walking Miocene apes as far back as 21.5 million years ago, certainly, and then again at 12 million years ago, certainly, with Moritopithecus at 21.5 and Pyrrholopithecus at 12 million years ago, and then you have Oreopithecus at about 8 million years ago. So you have these upright walkers clearly now in the Miocene saying that these creatures have been here, these upright walking primates have been here for at least 20 million years, and those are the living hominoids of today. They have a perfect sequence following all the way through to today, including the pre-humans, which means human beings don't have a place on the flow chart.
Lloyd, I think we're the visitors. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment with Lloyd Pye on Coast to Coast AM. And our special guest tonight, Lloyd Pye. Let's take a few moments and talk with him about the crystal skulls when we come back on Coast to Coast AM. Lloyd, weren't you on an old History Channel documentary on the Starchild, or at least you were part of something?
Absolutely. It's been on the History Channel, the Learning Channel, National Geographic channel. It's been on about a half dozen of them. But it's always been as part of a larger hour. This one that's coming up in the fall of next year will be the first time that the Starchild has been treated to a full hour analysis.
That is fantastic, and
yeah, it's pretty exciting. It really is. It's great news. It's really what we've all in the